Tim Pool versus the army of bots that are all shields for the DeSantis campaign. We warned him.
It's to win that, to win the primary and to win a general. So why attack me and insult me? Let me play a little bit of the video for you just so you can hear.
How Ron DeSantis has not fired Pushaw by now is absolutely beyond me. I mean, we have to continue the culture of losing in the Republican Party. How do we expect to do that with a winner like Christina Pushaw? Seriously, the woman wins too much. Listen, whether she's going up against the liberal media in Florida or against the MAGA grift machine, the woman just wins. I can't.
Okay, like, so a lot of people are pointing out it doesn't really sound like me because it's weird for AI. It's like it's hard for them to get my voice. But what is the purpose of this video that is just insulting me? For one, it says we got to keep up the Republicans losing or whatever, as if I'm a Republican, as if I like the Republican Party. Never did, still don't. I think they're all trash.
Before we dive into this topic, I want you to know right now that this particular topic is not a pro-Trump, pro-DeSantis, anti-Trump, anti-DeSantis type thing. I've decided not to do as many pure political videos. The vast majority of you guys who watch my channel know exactly where I kind of lean at, and I'll even explain why here shortly why that's the case. I've decided not to post as many political videos for the 2024 primary because deep down inside I understand that while the person that is being indicted right now more than likely is going to be the nominee, I also understand that there are people in my audience who probably prefer somebody else on that side of the aisle. There are probably people in my audience that obviously may prefer one candidate over the other, and I don't want to be as divisive. You guys can choose whoever you want to choose, as long as at the end of the day we eventually come together and try to defeat what the hell is in the White House and destroying our country. Now, with that right there being said, we got to talk about this because obviously there's been this little war between Tim Pool and the DeSantis shills on Twitter, and it stems back to, let's just say, this incident here.
I've been talking about how they will try to lie, cheat, and steal to trick you into believing fake bull crap so they can win political power. And the DeSantis war room decided that they would publish fake images. Let's play it again.
Unable to fire Fauci. Personally, you're not allowed to.
Right here. Here it is. Plain as day and obvious as obvious gets. In fact, some might argue they're simply trying to make a point about how buddy-buddy he was with Fauci using art. It says real life Trump in the image. It says in the video, real life Trump. And then it shows 3 fake images of Donald Trump embracing and even kissing Fauci on the forehead or on the face. Man, I don't even know what to say. Look, this is over the top. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. If you think
that right there was the AI incident that occurred a while back, you know, the artificial intelligence ad that the DeSantis campaign had of Trump hugging Fauci, a bunch of stuff that turned out to obviously we actually you could tell was AI generated. And of course, Tim Pool even had an episode of Timcast IRL special where he actually discussed this.
He posts memes. Yes. There was an image of George Soros in the background somewhere, and then he posted something. This is another thing they're criticizing him for, where he said, apparently this wasn't George Soros, but I have to wonder. And it's like, okay. And then other people, random people online who are not Donald Trump and associated with his campaign, posted photoshopped images of like Christina Pushaw and other people in the DeSantis camp. There is a big difference between Ron DeSantis's official campaign, his staff producing fake images to trick people into thinking Trump did a thing he did not do, and Trump posting a picture of Ron on a rhinoceros. But I'm sorry, I guess if they really believe that happened, they were like, well, Ron never rode a rhinoceros. Well, Trump's lying.
Here's the thing. I'm a highly trained skeptic. So when I saw that picture of Ron on a rhinoceros, I didn't think it was real, but I thought, man, this deepfake technology is getting way too convincing.
That's right.
This is clearly Ron DeSantis on a rhino.
I'm sorry. Like, dude, you can, by all means, criticize any Trump supporter for posting fake information 100%. But the idea that because some people associated with Trump posted questionable things they found on the internet justifies the intentional act of posting deepfakes to lie about Donald Trump. It's laughably absurd. Sorry, have a nice day. Fake.
DeSantis campaign should get ahead of this and be like, these were deepfakes before they get sued into oblivion.
Dude, there's no debate anymore. You're right. There's no debate. Any now debate Ron DeSantis tries to have with Trump, Trump wins instantly. He's going to say, Ron is going to be like, Donald Trump wouldn't fire Dr. Fauci. And Trump's going to be like, fake news. He made fake photos and ran those. Here it is.
And said they were real.
Well, and that's
said
the
they were
thing.
real.
That undermines, and I've been very clear about where I stand on Trump versus DeSantis, but I will say that undermines one of the good points DeSantis actually does have about Trump. That undermines one of the good arguments against Trump, even though I support him, to say, yeah, he didn't fire Fauci. That was a serious flaw. He should have, is something that is credible and it's powerful. And to completely undermine that by having an ad-generated picture of him kissing Fauci on the nose while he hugs him just
And writing
totally
real life
destroys.
Trump.
Yeah.
Hey, Weiss,
Yeah.
what would your crisis response team be to something like this? Double down or what?
To DeSantis, how should his response be? He probably should disavow, or if he fired somebody that created this, then it would.
He's got to fire the top.
Blame somebody else.
Fire
Find a
somebody else.
subordinate, say this
If
was
you
their idea, I
purposely
didn't
put up
approve.
fake photos in an ad. It's not just putting up a meme on Twitter. It's different, right? You had to go through a whole process. Let's make the ad. Let's make it scoop. What do you put here? Put the photo. And somebody said, let's put 2 fake photos of Trump. 3. And DeSantis has to know about that. They had to bring him the ad at the end.
Yeah, what I noticed didn't happen.
It's possible
And
that
of course, it was an extremely big-time error by the DeSantis campaign. Now, guys, I've made a couple of videos on this explaining how I felt about the Trump-DeSantis thing. At one point in time, I considered the DeSantis train, and then I said, you know what, after seeing who the hell's donating him, which, by the way, I'll get to much further in the video, and seeing how the DeSantis shields, I'm showing you guys some pages right now of these people who are sock puppet accounts who go out of their way to completely alienate one section of their base. By the way, the polling data indicates that this is not the smart thing for you to do if you're Ron DeSantis. If anything, you should be trying to court the MAGA vote, not actively going out of your way to piss it off, because then you'll just lose the election because you won't have the turnout to get you over. But Tim has been going back and forth with these people for a very long time, and it actually starts with the Jennings thing, which I'll get to here shortly. But the AI thing, I think, was the thing that made the, let's just say, the proverbial vein in the head actually pop. Now, the reason why I'm making this video is because obviously this AI thing is a pretty big deal, and as you guys, may have already picked up, this entire thing is about AI. So Tim had this account called Free, which, by the way, decided to put a beanie on and whatnot, basically do an AI video, which I'll show you guys here in a second, where Tim's voice was AI'd, basically, artificially done, whatnot. I got accused of this the other day with the video I did on Andrew Tate, where they said it was an AI generated thing where he was talking about, which, by the way, nobody's actually provided any proof. But proof, of course, was provided in this, and I'll get to it in a second. But he's been warring with these people for a long time, and I'm kind of sitting here like, welcome to the club, dude, because we've been warring with these people for a long time as well. And they don't seem to understand that you have to have, in order to attract bees, you need honey, not vinegar. Before I get to this set of clips, let me go ahead and tell you the reason why it is I chose to hop back on the Trump train rather than the DeSantis train. Outside the shills, I got to thinking about it. What could you do to, get pure revenge on the system, the swamp? How could you actually do this? How could you actually properly do this? Well, if you only had one term as president and you were not beholden to a re-election, because, by the way, if you vote for somebody as president, they normally serve 2 terms. But normally the first term, they're typically bogged down with investigations and all kinds of things, which, by the way, obstruct their administration. We'll talk about that more here in a second on the other side. The thing is, this right here, I thought about this and I was like, you know what, 2024, 2026, 2028 would actually be the perfect time to primary a lot of these people out. And also something else too, a one-term proposition is perfect for the nation because it allows us to actually sign some actual honest-to-God reforms. If there was ever an incentive to actually give this country actual honest-to-God reforms, given the situations that we're going through with the military, the border, foreign policy, energy, this would actually be the time to do it, especially when it comes to inflation in the economy. This country needs long-term reform, not quick fixes, and I think that one-term proposition would probably be the best way to go. You're not beholden to you're not beholden to a re-election. So what do? You sign a bunch of bills, a bunch of reforms that don't give you immediate fixes, but they're more long-term, which means that you may go through something for a while before you actually get to the long-term goal. But the long-term thing is actually the best way to go because it's much more sustainable and it promises long-term growth going forward. I just figured I'd go ahead and throw that out there. Now, the thing is this right here. Tim has been going at with these people for a while. The AI thing, which I brought up in 2 separate clips earlier, is just kind of an amalgamation of exactly how bad it's gotten, how desperate and how weak this campaign has gotten. Now, I'm going to let this clip right here run relatively long, Make sure you guys stick around. I'll be back on the other side, and you guys can see for yourself exactly how, let's just say, the lunacy that we're dealing with right now on the Republican ticket.
Free on Twitter, Kaladin Free. This is the account of the individual. You can see it here. Christian, conservative, husband, father, independent, former Republican, free agent, not affiliated with any campaign, break the cult, followed by a bunch of people, including Harmeet Dillon. And there's the image. Well, what is being said by those online is that this is actually an account proxy for the DeSantis campaign. I'm not convinced that's the case. My argument is actually this is a pro-Trump account masquerading as a DeSantis account because there's only one thing this video could do. The Timcast IRL audience is, my audience, many of you, largely moderate, disaffected liberals and more moderate-leaning Trump supporters. The diehard Trump supporters aren't the biggest fans of me. They call me names all the time because I never supported the Trump election narrative, still don't. Many of these people insult me over my stances on, like, say, vaccines or things like this. And we know from polling that we typically have a centrist, middle-of-the-road audience that leans slightly more to the right than the left, but does include many disaffected liberals. This is a huge base that DeSantis campaign needs. Many of you, and I know you all are saying it, comment below. Let me know your thoughts on this. Based on our internal data, y'all are the ones DeSantis needs to win that, to win the primary and to win a general. If you're immune to manipulation, I got a bridge to sell you. If people couldn't be manipulated, Coca-Cola wouldn't buy advertisements. We're all susceptible. So what I end up thinking to myself is, what is the goal of that video? Are they trying to get me to hurt DeSantis, or are they trying to help DeSantis? I honestly don't know. I really don't. So all I can do is just bring up that idea and throw it to you and ask what you think. I think most people will defer to the simple solution here, and that is the DeSantis campaign is wildly mismanaged and has been for some time. And the end result is going to be his absolute and embarrassing failure. And I'm bummed by it because I like DeSantis. But it doesn't seem to matter. And that's the weird thing about it. When I defend the guy, his fans attack me. When I criticize the guy, obviously his fans attack me. There's no path has forward. Been for some time. And the end result is going to be his absolute and embarrassing failure. And I'm bummed by it because I like DeSantis. But it doesn't seem to matter. And that's the weird thing about it. When I defend the guy, his fans attack me. When I criticize the guy, obviously his fans attack me. There's no path forward. It is either you are in the DeSantis cult, no matter what, or you are the enemy. Okay, I guess. Have a good day, I suppose.
Guys, there's a lot in that video that I am probably just going to, let's just put it this way. I'm going to leave the entire video in the description box for a reason, because Tim did come up with another assessment basically saying that Occam's razor, the simplest answer, is actually the proper one. I contend that the reason why that the DeSantis campaign is doing this is because they've been assured that they're going to get the nomination due to all the Trump indictments, this, that, and the other, which, by the way, I don't think are going to amount to anything except just giving him more and more bumps in the polls. And, of course, you're going to hear me mention this again, that one of the main reasons why the second impeachment was designed to take away his Secret Service protection, which, by the way, is a big-time leverage in locking somebody up. Also, I'm going to be leaving you guys a bit of an explanation towards the end of the video that Robert Barnes gave about the Democrats trying to get him removed from the ballot and why it is that that section of the 14th Amendment, and like I said, I'll bring it up again in this video, why is that particular section of the 14th Amendment only pertains to somebody running for office, but not actual seating. It's kind of a, let's just say it's really a plan that doesn't really go anywhere, because you can still win the presidency even if you're locked up, if somebody writes you in. A lot of legality there. I'm not going to get fully into that, but this entire thing with Tim and the DeSantis campaign actually does not stem from the AI ad. It actually stems all the way back to, what was it? Oh, yeah, that's right, the Jazz Jennings thing. And the thing about the Jazz Jennings thing is this right here. And I know the real reason why Tim did this. So basically what he did was he tweeted at Christina Pushaw, who handles DeSantis' communications. And, of course, when he did that, he was showing some concern. He wanted to know why Tim wasn't doing anything about it. I explained in that video that DeSantis really couldn't do anything about that because, it obviously had occurred after he had signed some bills. And, of course, we typically don't tend to do anything after something's been done, okay? There's no such thing as bills of attainder anywhere in the Constitution or any constitution in any one of the state constitutions in the country. The thing is this right here. The reason why Tim was doing it was so that way he could get some of the DeSantis people on his show. So what happened was that Christina Pushaw, she sneered back at him in a very, very negative light. Next thing you know, Jeremy Redfern piled on him. Next thing you know, another DeSantis person piled on him. And of course, the AI thing, where of course I showed you earlier, where he had actually melted down over that, which by the way, I thought was pretty shady and underhand out of the DeSantis camp. And by the way, at one point in time, I considered the DeSantis camp, or I just considered moving on to DeSantis. The problem was when I started seeing who it was that was backing him. And I remembered that when they say something like, well, these same people back Trump, I'm talking about Ken Griffin, Paul Tudor Jones, all these people, when they say that he donated to Trump too, the difference is this right here. These people donated to Trump's inauguration fund, not his actual campaign in 2016. Now, what's the difference between the two? Well, what happens is that donors oftentimes will donate to a presidential campaign to get that person elected. I figured out in 2016 when I saw that Goldman Sachs had given money to Romney and they'd also given money to Obama both at the same time. They've been doing this stuff for years. The thing is this right here, though. The inauguration fund is basically when somebody gives you money after you've won the presidency, they donate to your inauguration fund in the hopes that you will maybe entertain them at a later date. It's basically like giving a favor for a favor. I'm going to do this for a few, so that way maybe you can do me a favor a little bit later on. Maybe you can get this piece of technology or whatnot put in the law, explored, money, research into, whatever. Maybe you can do that. It's one of the many ways it's one of the ways lobbying works. So basically, when somebody donates to an inauguration fund, it's not exactly the same as donating to a campaign, but yet these same people are donating to DeSantis' campaign in particular. It's one of the main reasons why I backed up away from him, and then I saw that the red flag law provision in Florida had been, for the most part, been abused by his agricultural secretary, Nikki Fried, who, by the way, tried to run against him in the governor's race, and yet he had not really done anything about that. So I began to question DeSantis as a whole, and I even made a few videos on this. And I began to look at things, and I was like, maybe he's really a Trojan horse. Well, the thinking was maybe he was a Trojan horse for the establishment because he would probably win. The problem is, the more and more I look at this, it looks very, very similar to the 2012 presidential campaign where Mitt Romney went out of his way to not win that election against a very weak Barack Obama. It almost looks the exact same. And one of the ways to ensure that you would lose and ensure that the uniparty stays in control is by attacking a base of support that you actually need, which, by the way, the DeSantis campaign acts like they don't need, but you desperately need, because you got to have small town and rural voters to get you over what happens in suburbs and the cities. And even with 2020, which we can't really talk about here, which YouTube is now allowing people to talk about now on this platform, I still kind of shy away from it. You still need people, regardless, to go out there and vote for your candidate. And obviously, the DeSantis campaign does not understand this, or they are intentionally trying to lose the election, given the fact if he is given the nomination due to Trump's many indictments, which, by the way, is kind of weird because Vivek Ramaswamy is catching DeSantis, and the DeSantis campaign, quite frankly, looks like a bunch of idiots are running that campaign. I'm pretty sure you guys are kind of picking up on my drift that what's going on here is that Tim is a little bit, obviously, a little bit concerned about this, especially given the nature of how that campaign has acted towards him in particular, especially his online Twitter base. That being DeSantis' Twitter base, because I've been showing you guys things of these Twitter accounts of these guys who, a lot of these people have blocked me as well, which I don't really worry that much about it because, I think if you're getting blocked by the right type of people, you're getting blocked by the right type of people, and these are the right type of people to block you because obviously you have figured these people out, and my initial assessment is that they're actually 2016 Bernie bros because they, for the most part, had the same exact MO as what that campaign had. Attack anybody, everybody, try to bully them into supporting you. They've even managed to turn a few prominent accounts, but anytime they do this, it just seems to backfire on them, as you will continue to see here.
Fake.
DeSantis campaign should get ahead of this and be like, these were deep fakes before they get sued into oblivion.
Dude, there's no debate anymore. You're right. There's no debate. Any now debate Ron DeSantis tries to have with Trump wins instantly. He's going to say, Ron is going to be like, Donald Trump wouldn't fire Dr. Fauci. And Trump's going to be like, fake news. He made fake photos and ran those. Here it is.
And said they were real.
Well, and that's the thing. That undermines, and I've been very clear about where I stand on Trump versus DeSantis, but I will say that undermines one of the good points that DeSantis actually does have about Trump. That undermines one of the good arguments against Trump, even though I support him, to say, yeah, he didn't fire Fauci. That was a serious flaw. He should have, is something that is credible and it's powerful. And to completely undermine that by having an AI-generated picture of him kissing Fauci on the nose while he hugs him just
and
totally
real
destroys it. Yeah.
Hey, Weiss, what would your crisis response team be to something like this? Double down or what?
To DeSantis, how should his response be? He probably should disavow, or if he fired somebody that created this, then
He's got to fire the top.
Blame somebody else.
Fire
Find a
somebody else.
subordinate, say this
If
was
you
their idea, I
purposely
didn't
put up
approve.
fake photos in an ad. It's not just putting up a meme on Twitter. It's different, right? You had to go through a whole process. Let's make the ad. Let's make it scoop. What do you put here? Put the photo. And somebody said, let's put 2 fake photos of Trump. 3. And DeSantis has to know about that. They had to bring him the ad at the end.
Yeah, what I noticed didn't happen.
It's possible that
DeSantis.
The thing is this right here. Occam's razor in this situation seems to be the correct answer. But as I've said before, there's always some form of ripple effect that kind of goes along with this. And the thing that you have to understand is that there are people out there who do, in fact, try to lose. I mean, the guy's body language, the fake laughs, things of that nature there. I'm showing you guys some photos, some video clips. And it seems to me like this guy is just not as good as what people make him out to be. I mean, if he's great in Florida, obviously on policy, but it's not that hard to do when you've got an overwhelming supermajority in the state that you are running. When you have that, yeah, it seems to me like when you have that type of supermajority, it's much, much easier for you to get things done. Let me give you an example of political warfare. And I don't do much politics as far as like pure politics anymore on this channel because it can be quite dry and quite boring and it just doesn't do very, very well. Let me give you an example. When Trump got elected in 2016, and by the way, I was pretty much anybody but Trump in 2016. I was also anybody but Romney in 2012. Of course, I ended up voting for Romney and Trump both because I thought that the worst thing America could deal with was another 4 years of Barack Obama. We all know how it turned out. He helped divide the country much, much further. When Trump showed up, everything just kind of came out much, much further than what it already was. But I do believe he was justified in calling out the nonsense. It needed to be called out. It needed to be fixed. Obviously, not everything got fixed in his first term. It's just the way things are. You can't always get what you want. And, of course, the Trump agenda, for the most part, was stymied not by Democrats, even though they were definitely obstruction with the Russia collusion, which ended up being fake, the Steele dossier, all that fake nonsense that happened. The Republicans, like Paul Ryan and them, who, by the way, Trump even complimented on Twitter when he was in office, which, by the way, is a common sense explanation of why he would do that, I'll get to here in a second. Yeah, they were actually obstructing his agenda just as much as the Democrats. The reason why it is that you would, in fact, compliment Paul Ryan, who was the Speaker of the House, is because you need him to get your agenda through. And not only do you need him to get your agenda through, it was a midterm election year, and yeah, you want to keep your party intact, so therefore you don't want to divide the base. At that time, Paul Ryan still had some popularity. Of course, after a while, people began to get turned off by him because, as many people would oftentimes cite, the real reason why they voted the way they did in 2018 was more or less to hold Congress accountable, thinking that maybe Trump could get some of these people who were actually running on kitchen table issues at that time to actually help him out as far as passing his agenda. First thing they did when they got in office was go for impeachment, which, by the way, is never a good idea. You know, I did a video a long time ago on the possibility of impeaching Biden, and of course, obviously, we think he's too frail, he's too old, he does not need to be president. We got World War III coming, and this guy's obviously not the task. And again, a lot of us think that somebody else is controlling him. I personally think it's the people around him. If you ever read the book Lucky, you would automatically think that Obama had a lot to do with his campaign and his presidency. It's actually much more nuanced than you think. I may dive into that at a later date. But the thing is this right here, it's pretty obvious that we're voting for Trump in 2020. We're voting to avoid this type of nonsense that we have now. Record high inflation. You've got the wokeness crap has gone absolutely insane. You've got the woke stuff at the White House, all that type of crap. Obviously, it's a great big giant crap show. It's an embarrassment, and the country's not looking good going down the road. So it's very important to have your party intact when you're in office. And it's one of the main reasons why I don't think Trump is in office today is because, and of course we could talk about 2020, but obviously we've got to find alternative ways to talk about it because of the way YouTube's community guideline standards work. The thing is this right here. The Republicans that were in office at that time really and truly were going out of their way not to help. They were actually doing a lot more to obstruct his agenda. Now, granted, he was able to get his Supreme Court justice. I mean, look, DeSantis was on Brett Baer the other night, and he was saying that he'd done more for the pro-life movement than anybody, but it was actually Trump's judges who got a Roe v. Wade overturned. Let's also not forget that when he was running for governor, he was getting beaten by Adam Putnam by 14 points. Trump stepped in there and then endorsed him, and next thing you know, DeSantis was able to barely get over. And he barely got over against the socialists in the state of Florida. Florida of all places, all them Cubans who hate Fidel Castro, and you could barely beat a socialist. Come on, man. DeSantis' Twitter base of trolls that I mentioned earlier, which I don't even think they're really truly trolls. They say some of the most outrageously stupid stuff. Like, go back to the whole Paul Ryan thing. Trump complimented Paul Ryan. Yeah, Paul Ryan was the Speaker of the House, and it's common sense to keep your party intact. You typically don't want to divide your base, as I mentioned before. Trump he took money from that donor in the form of an inauguration fund, not an actual donation. You see, a lot of the things that these people say can very, very easily be explained by good old-fashioned common sense. And like I said in the other videos, I've talked about those DeSantis shields before. They really and truly are a pain in the ass. Here's the one thing that really and truly bothers me, and this right here is what makes me think it reminds me of 2012. But hear me out on this right, and I'm going to try to end the video on this note right here because I don't want this video to go too long. In 2012, we had this thing called the Tea Party, okay? And I was in college at the time, paralegal. We were talking politics, discussing things. I had actual liberal professors. They were more classical libs. They weren't leftoids. And one of the things that I noticed they kept on saying was, if you guys don't stop pissing off the Tea Party, you're not going to beat Obama. Well, I, of course, didn't listen at the time. Truth be told is the America First movement is actually, to tell you the truth, it's really just an amalgamation of first-time voters who don't vote every election. It's also a very, very large contingency of it is actually the Tea Party voters. And the Romney campaign with Ann Coulter and a bunch of other surrogates that would go on Fox News every night to go on Hannity, they would go out of their way to literally attack the Tea Party. The same group that, by the way, Lois Lerner, there was a whole incident with the Tea Party groups having their assets seized, or they were basically being overtaxed, audited, all that crap there. The Obama administration went out of their way to go after these people because if these people vote, they're actually quite impactful. They were in 2010. Obama, by the way, couldn't even get things done with his own party, which, by the way, we may cover in another video. But the thing is this right here, Trump was able to get those people to come out and vote for him as part of the reason why we call 2016 the Tea Party's revenge. Dick Morris actually complained and said, look, what the hell happened to these 8 million voters that were expected to show up from 2010 to 2012? They didn't show up because they thought that Mitt Romney was just another uniparty shill. And if you come across this video and you're somebody who was a part of the Tea Party movement, I want to apologize to you right now because I was kind of in that vortex of people who went after you guys and called you guys a problem when in reality that wasn't the case. You guys were obviously saving us from the uniparty that was that existed at that time. So I automatically think with the 2024 Senate map heavily in favor of Republicans that DeSantis has been told, look, man, you're the guy that we're going to put in Trump's place because Trump's going to be indicted because Republicans are working to get his ass thrown away too. My thinking is that what's going on is that obviously the same people, by the way, who are running Romney's surrogacy operations, like Ann Coulter, for example, who, by the way, has also turned to a never-Trumper. John Cardillo has now turned to a never-Trumper. My thinking is that the vast majority of these people have convinced him to stay in the race long enough, which, by the way, he's actually going down the polls. Ramaswamy has overtaken him. I am convinced that what is really going on here is that, they're intentionally trying to get the nomination so that way they can actually throw the election. Tim, of course, came to the assessment later on in the video. Like I said, I'll leave in the description box. That was the hell he thinks is really truly going on as Occam's razor. That was the secondary thing he thought. And which, by the way, may be the case. They may be just that freaking incompetent. But the thing these people don't seem to understand is that the pure Trump voter is a very, very real thing. It's about 12% of your overall base, and you need that full base to get over all the shenanigans. And you need these people to get over. If they did it to Trump, trust me, they're going to do it to they're going to do it to DeSantis. I'm already calling him Romney. That's how much he reminds me of that situation. That's exactly what this reminds me of. The only difference is now they've got Twitter, or X is what it's now being called, as a platform to do. Even though there are a lot less conservatives on that platform, it does not mean it's not impactful. As I don't think I said this before, but I'm going to go ahead and say it now. Someone like me is more than likely going to go out and vote in 2024 Republican regardless, because I live in a state that has a governor's race, that has a very, very important governor's race, which, by the way, I need to go vote for. However, a lot of the pure Trump base exists in the Midwestern section of the United States. Ohio, Indiana, Pennsylvania, a state that you definitely need. Michigan, a state that you're probably going to need. Wisconsin, a state you're probably going to need. Iowa. Those people right there don't have governor's races to go out and vote for, so they don't have any additional incentive to actually go vote. It's one of the things that Ramaswamy has done, is actually tried to be nice to the Trump base, where DeSantis' entire campaign staff is going out of their way to be a bunch of jerks to the Trump base, alienating the hell out of them, and they more than likely are not going to show up. Not to mention the fact that when you listen to him talk, he's now gotten to the point to where he's a little bit more confrontational on the guy who endorsed him and, quite frankly, gave him his job. What I'm saying is that a lot of Trump voters are not going to show up and vote if he's the nominee or if he's been inserted into the nomination process, because at that point in time, they'll be so heartbroken, they'll think that the entire thing is gone. They'll be blackpilled. Even if DeSantis did win, they would automatically assume he was a uniparty shill, which I personally believe he is, or at least he's being used by the uniparty. Now, guys, if you want to support whoever, that is fine with me. I mean, I'm not going to beat you up for supporting whoever as far as in the Republican primary is concerned. I mean, I'm not going to beat up on you at all. I understand that obviously you need to have honey to attract bees, not vinegar. I said that up at the video. But the truth be told is this right here. If you continue to go down this path, the only thing you're going to do is alienate the base that you would need to get you over. And I think Tim is starting to see that. Now, guys, with that right there being said, I'm going to go ahead and halt this video right now. This video was actually supposed to be much longer video, but I decided to come back and re-edit it because, quite frankly, if it had just been longer and longer and longer, it just would have come off as a very, very vile rant. And quite frankly, I did not want that to happen. God knows I've got enough of these on this platform. But if you guys like this content, make sure you guys hit the like button. Please subscribe if you're new to the channel. Also hit the notifications bell. Only about 15% of you guys that watch the content are subscribed. So please make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Share the video. Leave a comment in the comment section. And I'll see you guys later.